It was supposed to be a calm and light-hearted morning on Lorraine, ITV's beloved talk show, where host Lorraine Kelly is known for her warmth and gentle humor. But the atmosphere in the studio turned unexpectedly tense when Sir Ian McKellen, the legendary actor known for his roles in Lord of the Rings and X-Men, appeared for what was meant to be a cheerful interview. The show started smoothly. Lorraine introduced Ian with her trademark enthusiasm, calling him one of the greatest living legends of theater and film. Ian smiled, clearly amused by the introduction, and responded humbly, "Oh, Lorraine, you're far too kind. I'm just a man who loves to tell stories." The audience applauded warmly. However, as the conversation moved from his latest theater project to more personal subjects, the tone shifted. Lorraine brought up a recent controversy involving comments Ian had made about the modern film industry and younger actors. "You've said before that the art of acting is being lost in this generation," Lorraine began, her tone still polite but slightly probing. "Do you really think today's actors don't have the same passion or skill?" Ian leaned back, his face thoughtful but firm. "Yes, Lorraine, I do believe something has changed. Many young actors are more interested in fame than craft. They want quick success rather than the journey of learning." Lorraine raised her eyebrows. "But don't you think that sounds a little harsh? Times have changed, Sir Ian. Social media and technology have created a new kind of fame." Ian chuckled dryly. "Ah, yes, fame by algorithm. You don't need talent, you just need followers. That's not acting, Lorraine, that's performance without purpose." The audience gave an awkward laugh, sensing the rising tension. Lorraine, visibly uncomfortable, tried to lighten the mood. "Well, I'm sure there are still plenty of talented young people out there. Maybe you're being a bit old-fashioned." That word, old-fashioned, seemed to strike a nerve. Ian's expression hardened slightly. "Old-fashioned, perhaps, but I prefer to think of it as experienced. I've spent 60 years on stage, Lorraine. I've watched acting evolve, and sometimes devolve." Lorraine quickly interjected, "But don't you think criticizing young actors publicly could discourage them? You're a mentor to so many." Ian interrupted sharply, "A mentor tells the truth, Lorraine. Even if it's uncomfortable. The theater taught me discipline, not comfort. Today, everyone wants validation before they've even earned it." The tension was palpable now. Lorraine forced a smile, trying to steer the conversation elsewhere. "All right, let's talk about your new play then." But Ian wasn't done. "You invited me here to talk honestly, didn't you? Or was it just for headlines?" The studio fell silent. Lorraine blinked, clearly taken aback. "Sir Ian, there's no need to be rude. I'm just doing my job." Ian leaned forward, his voice calm but cutting. "And I'm doing mine, speaking honestly. If that's too much for morning television, perhaps we should stop pretending these shows are about truth." There was a stunned pause. Lorraine looked toward the producers off camera, her smile fading completely. "Well," she said tightly, "it seems we've struck a nerve. Maybe we should take a quick break." As the cameras cut to commercials, sources backstage said Ian removed his microphone and stood up, muttering, "I don't play games for ratings." Lorraine, clearly frustrated, stayed seated as producers rushed around trying to calm the situation. When the show returned, Lorraine appeared alone on camera. "We had a bit of a disagreement before the break," she said carefully. "Sir Ian has decided to leave us early today." Her voice was polite, but her eyes betrayed irritation. Later that afternoon, clips of the confrontation spread rapidly across social media. Fans were divided. Some defended Ian, praising his honesty and saying he had every right to speak his mind. Others criticized him for being disrespectful to a host simply doing her job. One viewer wrote, "Ian McKellen said what many older artists think, that today's fame culture ruins real talent." Another commented, "There's no excuse for being rude to Lorraine. She was respectful until he lost his temper." By evening, the story had made headlines across major entertainment outlets. ITV released a brief statement. "This morning's discussion between Lorraine Kelly and Sir Ian McKellen became more heated than expected. We respect both individuals and their right to express their opinions." Ian himself later addressed the situation in a short post on X, formerly Twitter. "Honesty in conversation can sometimes cause discomfort. I have great respect for Lorraine, but I will always defend the art of acting." The following day, Lorraine opened her show with a brief acknowledgement. "Yesterday's chat with Sir Ian got a bit lively. But that's what happens when you talk to someone with strong opinions. We still love him." The audience laughed, but there was still a trace of unease beneath her cheerful tone. In the end, what was meant to be a routine interview became an unexpected cultural moment, a clash between tradition and modernity, between truth and tact. Ian McKellen, a knight of the old stage, had once again proven that he refuses to play by anyone's script but his own. The morning after the clash, the internet was still buzzing. Headlines across tabloids screamed, "Sir Ian storms off live TV." Lorraine Kelly left speechless after fiery interview. A clash of generations, McKellen versus modern media. Lorraine Kelly, known for her charm and composure, maintained a professional silence on social media. Her followers filled the comment sections with mixed opinions, some defending her as a graceful host who didn't deserve the backlash, while others praised McKellen for being unfiltered. By midday, producers at ITV were already discussing whether to re-invite Ian for a reconciliation appearance. The show's PR team sensed that the controversy had actually boosted ratings. Viewership for that morning's episode was up by nearly 40%, and the YouTube clip of the interview had already reached over 1 million views in just a few hours. Meanwhile, Ian McKellen was in his London flat, sipping tea by the window, seemingly unfazed. When his assistant, Daniel, entered holding a tablet, he said carefully, "Sir Ian, you're trending again. Half the internet's defending you. The other half thinks you were a bit harsh." Ian smiled faintly. "Ah, controversy, the modern currency of attention. But tell me, Daniel, did I lie?" Daniel hesitated. "No, sir. You told the truth. Just, very directly." Ian chuckled. "Truth loses its strength when sugar-coated. Let them argue. Perhaps they'll remember what real conversation sounds like." Later that evening, Ian received a call from an unexpected number, Lorraine herself. Her voice, though calm, carried a hint of exhaustion. "Ian, I wanted to call you personally. Yesterday's chat got out of hand. I don't think either of us expected it to turn that heated." Ian paused, then spoke softly. "You were doing your job, Lorraine. And I was doing mine, defending what I love." "I know," she replied. "I just wish the cameras hadn't turned it into a battlefield. People forget that disagreements can be civil." There was a long silence before Ian said, "Then perhaps we should remind them. Let's meet again, not for the show, but for a conversation. No lights, no audience. Just two people talking." Lorraine sounded surprised, then smiled. "You know what, Sir Ian? I'd like that." The next week, ITV released a short online special titled, "Lorraine Meets Sir Ian, The Conversation Continues." It was filmed in a quiet, candlelit theater setting rather than the usual bright studio. The tone was calmer, deeper, reflective rather than combative. Lorraine began, "Last week, we had what some called a clash. But I'd call it passion, two people who care deeply about what they do." Ian nodded. "Exactly. The arts are not for the faint-hearted. If we lose our ability to debate, we lose the heart of storytelling itself." He then went on to explain what he meant in the original interview. "I don't despise young actors. Quite the opposite, I admire their energy. But I do fear that the industry no longer gives them the space to fail, to grow. Acting isn't about likes or filters, it's about humanity. And that takes time." Lorraine listened intently this time, not interrupting. "I see your point," she admitted. "The industry does push people to chase fame over craft. But maybe young people just need guidance, from people like you." Ian smiled. "Then I'll do my part. I'll teach. But I won't lie to comfort them. Real mentorship isn't about applause, it's about truth." The audience, quiet and thoughtful, gave a long round of applause at the end. The special ended with the two shaking hands, both smiling sincerely. Within hours, comments flooded in again, but this time, the tone was different. Two legends showing how adults handled disagreement. This is what TV needs, not arguments, but honest discussions. Lorraine and Ian redeemed themselves beautifully. The media shifted focus from the heated clash to the powerful reconciliation. ITV even released a behind-the-scenes documentary on how the conversation came together, showcasing both stars' professionalism and mutual respect. A few weeks later, at a London charity gala, Lorraine and Ian met again, this time off camera. Lorraine laughed as she approached him. "You know, you gave my producers a heart attack that day." Ian smirked. "Good. They needed a bit of drama. I am, after all, an actor." The two shared a laugh, proving that whatever tension had existed was long gone. Lorraine later told a reporter, "Sir Ian is a treasure. Sometimes passionate people clash, but that's what makes them real." In the months that followed, their encounter became something of a symbol, not of hostility, but of courage to speak one's mind and then reconcile with grace. Drama students studied their exchange as an example of how art, media, and ego can collide, and still find harmony. When asked in a later BBC interview if he regretted anything, Ian replied with a twinkle in his eye, "Regret? No. Television needs a bit of truth every now and then. It reminds people that not every smile is rehearsed." Lorraine, for her part, later said on her show, "Sir Ian taught me something valuable, that honesty, even when uncomfortable, is still a form of respect." Their story faded from the headlines, but it left a lasting mark, a rare reminder that behind the bright lights and perfect smiles of television, real emotions and real conversations still exist. Sir Ian returned to the stage months later, performing King Lear to sold-out audiences. When asked if he'd go back on Lorraine, he grinned mischievously and said, "Only if she promises not to call me old-fashioned again." Lorraine responded live on her show the next morning, "Deal." And just like that, what began as a clash turned into one of the most memorable moments in British television, not because of the argument, but because of the humanity that followed.